everyone, it's Vicki from Minerva. So I have some new exciting patterns to share with you today. Now, in case you hadn't heard, the big four are now the big five. So they have launched a new brand called Nomi, and this collection has been curated by Mimi G, and the idea is that they are teaming and collaborating with designers and makers, sewists in the sewing community to create these patterns. So the first collection, we have 12 different patterns. So we have 8 women's wear and 4 men's wear patterns, and each one is designed by a different member of the sewing community, some of which are Minerva Brand Ambassadors, so we're obviously really excited to see them have their own patterns. It's a really quite different collection of patterns really. The styles, I think it's really something new for the big four. They're pushing the boundaries a little bit more. There's some more unusual styles in there, something a bit different. It's also great to see 4 menswear patterns as well. So let's get stuck in and we'll talk about some of the details on these patterns, the sorts of fabrics you could make, and yeah, hopefully it'll just get you inspired to start your next sewing project and hopefully give one of these patterns a try. So we'll start with the women's wear patterns. So first up we have a design by Vicki Style, who is a brand ambassador here at Minerva. So we're so happy that she is in this collection of designers and she's got her first pattern. Really amazing. The number on this one is NE 2007. Now this pattern is a dress pattern with a couple of different views, and I just think it's got a really cool look to it, which is no surprise from Marcia. So the bit that I love on this pattern is around the waist there is quite a deep band that pulls in, so it accentuates the waist, gives it a really lovely shape, and that's done by using a rib fabric in that panel. So, and then down the front you've got a zip detail as the closure, which gives it a split up the front as well, which is lovely. And it's also got cuff details on the arms and around the neckline as well. So it all sort of picks up that main waistband and works together. Now, fabrics that are suggested for this pattern are moderate stretch knits, so we're talking double knit, ponte, scuba, sweatshirt fleece and French terry. And like I said, for the contrast details you do need a rib knit, so you could go for, you know, a coordinating colour, or you could go for contrast, which is what has been done on view B. Now I think on view A it looks fabulous done in a solid, and the colour of the rib matches the fabric, so that looks fabulous. But view B, I think that's the one that steals it for me. So it's done in a really cool print, and then with a plain black contrast rib for those contrast details. I think it looks fabulous. Great first pattern from Vicki Style, and I can't wait to see what else she designs. Now next up is a coat pattern from Beauty J'adore. Now I love this pattern. I love making a coat anyway when I'm in the mood for, you know, a slightly more involved project, and this one may well have to be my next coat pattern. It's exactly the sort of coat pattern I love. So it's quite simple in a way, quite understated. The big collar detail is fabulous. It ties with a belt. So for me, it's the kind of coat that, you know, I would maybe wear unfastened, or, you know, just tied with the belt when it's a little bit colder. And I think, you know, if the type of coat you wear, you know, maybe a little bit open, you'd see you know, a fabulous outfit underneath. So I would be making this for you know, as the type of coat that I would maybe wear to, you know, like a special occasion. So say if I'm going out for a meal with friends, or, you know, it would be a special coat that you would wear when you just want to dress up a little bit more. But I mean, equally, some people might make this coat and it'd be one that they'd wear every day, because it's definitely a classic. Now, fabric wise, it's recommended so tweed, wool blends, even cotton blends and gabardine. Yeah, it's even recommending linen blends, dupion, sateen, stretch wovens, lightweight wool blends. Now if you make it in something lighter, it's definitely going to feel more like a jacket rather than a coat. So if you want it to be a proper coat, I'd recommend, you know, a coating fabric, a wool blend, yeah, something that's just got a bit of weight to it. And I think it looks fabulous in the solid green colour that they've used on the envelope. Yeah, in a solid, I think that works fabulously. Now next up we have a pattern by another Minerva Brand Ambassador, so it's really exciting. This is by Duana M. Chandler, and this is such a cool pattern. It's so unusual, so unlike anything certainly I've seen before from any sewing pattern company. So you have, with this pattern, you have 3 different pieces, 3 separates. So A is the jacket, B is the trouser, and C is a skirt. And what all of them have that tie them together as a collection are these details where they've used eyelets. So on the jacket, for example, along the frill at the bottom, they've spaced eyelets out along that frill, and then they've threaded a drawstring cord through those eyelets. And similarly on the trouser and the skirt, they've done it on the pocket details, on, like I say, on the trouser or the skirt. So they've used the eyelet and the drawstring tie detail on there as well. So it really creates, a full outfit. And yeah, it's certainly very unusual, very different to anything I've seen, and yeah, really cool pattern. Next up we have a pattern by Brittany J. Jones, and this is a great everyday wearing look that I think you could make in so many different fabrics, and I think you just get lots of wear out of this pattern. So there are 3 different views on the pattern, 4 different views on the pattern. So there's classic trousers in view C, which tapers in a little bit towards the ankle, and view D, which is a straighter leg, both that come with pockets and patch pockets on the back, and it looks like with a zip fly. And then view A and B are both different top patterns, and you've lots of different options really. So you've different options on the length, one that will be more of like a top and one that will be more of like a tunic, and then you can make it with a 3/4 length sleeve or sleeveless as well. And it has almost like a little funnel neck detail at the neckline, which is a pretty detail as well. So really great pattern on that one. Next up we have a pattern from Aronica B. Cole. Now this is just fabulous, and I think the fabrics that they've made this in on the envelope looks really, really good and really elevates the pattern. So we have a trouser pattern that I guess is quite simple. It's flat around the front at the waistband and then elasticated at the back, which I always think is a nice detail. So you've still got that movement, but it keeps it flat along the front. And then at the front it has quite big pleat details coming from that waistband, which I think it creates a fabulous shape on these trousers. And then I guess the star of the show with this pattern is the top. So it's a little crop top, and I just love how it's been made in an organza fabric on the envelope with what looks like embroidered flower details up the sleeves. Really pretty, and I think with a more, I guess, understated fabric you could dress it down, but that pattern for me is crying to be made in a really fancy, beautiful fabric like the organza, and oh yeah, it's just such a fabulous look. So the next pattern we have is from Alyssa Threads. Now this one is quite different to the last one, and it's more of a casual vibe, and this is designed for knit fabrics. So we have a skirt that comes in 2 length options, both which have a slit up one side, and then the top, which is super pretty. It's like a cardigan button-up crop top that comes with long big sleeves that draw into a cuff, and then the statement is this frill around the neckline, which is just super pretty. So fabric wise it's recommending, so it's got to be made in a stretch knit. So they're talking jerseys, ITYs, sweater knits, and for the skirt, either length, so we're talking pontes, double knits or sweater knits. So the skirt definitely needs something a little bit heavier than a jersey, but the top you could make in something lighter as well as something heavier if you wanted. So if you did want to create like a co-ord look where you wore both pieces together, I'd be looking at pontes or sweater knit fabrics, which we have loads of those here at Minerva, and then you could make both pieces in the same fabric. But if you are just making the top pattern, then you've more fabric options then, so you can be looking at lighter weight knits like jerseys and ITYs, for example. So yeah, really pretty pattern, that one, I think. Next up we have a pattern from the Corny Rainbow. Now this is just my sort of style, this pattern. I love anything with a cinched waist. especially for a special occasion. Now this is a dress pattern with two different views, but it has the look of like a coat really, because it wraps over and then has 4 buttons at the waist, like in a way you would fasten a coat, I guess. Now it has panels at the side, so down the front of the dress where the button details close, that continues as like a flat non-gathered fabric, but then these side details at either side of that panel have gathers in them which create some volume, so it really does create like a fit and flare sort of style. And then the neckline has a collar detail again that's imitating like a jacket or a coat. And then, so the main difference between A and B is the sleeve. So A has a full length sleeve and B is sleeveless. I think it looks great in either a print or a solid, like what they've shown on the envelope. Yeah, quite an unusual pattern, that one, definitely something a bit different. And last in the women's wear patterns, so this pattern is by Handmade Millennial, and this is a beautiful jumpsuit. Oh, I think this is gorgeous. So there's 2 different views on this pattern. Both of them have this almost like a twist detail at the front and a V neckline, and that twist goes into a band that sits below the bust. And that twist detail, I think if you make it in a soft drapey fabric, just looks beautiful. So you have 2 different sleeve options. So you have a full straight sleeve, or a really pretty, this is my favourite, the shorter flutter sleeve. I think that works really well with the twist in the jumpsuit, and the overall vibe that gives I think is really lovely. And then you also have a full length trouser or a slightly cropped trouser that sits around, you know, just above ankle length. Yeah, I think that's a really lovely pattern. I think that one's going to be a popular one, and I think made in something like one of our Minerva exclusive viscose chalets would be beautiful, a silky satin would be beautiful, any woven really that's got a lot of drape and isn't too heavy in weight, fabulous for that pattern. So now we're going to move on to the menswear patterns. So first up we have a pattern from Norris Danter Ford. Now this is a jumpsuit that has like a boiler suit overalls kind of vibe, and yeah, it's an all-in-one piece, and it has a pocket at the chest, a drawn-in detail at the waist, patch pockets on the back. And looking at the line art drawing on the back of the envelope, it also has some like extra patches and things that you can add to yours to personalise it if you wish, which doesn't actually show that on the front of the envelope, but I think that's a cute little detail that you can just, you know, use to personalise yours even more. Next up we have a pattern from Julian Creates. Now this is a trouser and a button-up top pattern that both require to be made in jersey or knit fabrics, which I think is quite unusual. But I think that would make it a really comfortable pair of trousers and a top to wear. And I think, you know, to have that sort of comfort with something that's quite a smart looking outfit, yeah, I think it's really clever and quite unusual, and yeah, I can imagine that being quite a popular pattern, that one. And lots of different fabrics you could use, you know, like a ponte, a sweater knit, a double knit, anything like that would be really lovely. The next pattern we have is by Sins of Many. Now this is a really cool, I think, varsity bomber jacket, and there's 2 different lengths on the pattern, view A and view B. View A is the longer length one and view B is a a shorter version rather, and they both have different pocket options. They both feature a pocket on the sleeve. And I think the fabrics that they've used on the envelope, you know, both views they've shown in a combination of fabrics. So it looks like 3 different fabrics in different colours, plus a rib which is used around the bottom of the jacket, the cuffs, and around the neckline. So yeah, they've really gone to town on, you know, experimenting with different fabrics in the one garment. But equally, I think, you know, it would look good if you chose to make it all in one colour as well, and I think that would give it a very different look. So yeah, that's another really interesting pattern. And then the last one, which is possibly my favourite of the menswear, this is another one actually by Norris Stanterford. So he had 2 patterns in this collection, and this is a leather jacket, or a moto jacket, and it's just amazing. The amount of, I guess, work that would go into this. You know, it's not a project for the faint-hearted. There'll be a lot of work in creating this pattern, but it's just amazing. The amount of zips and pockets and press stud details, the belt option with the buckle fastening there, it's just so cool. And like, for example, fabric wise, you know, you could choose to make it in leather or a faux leather like what we have here at Minerva, and that will give a very similar look to what you see on the front of the envelope. But on the back of the packet, it does also suggest cotton blends, wool blends and denim as well. So, you know, I think like in terms of if you made it in a denim or like a cotton twill or a cotton drill fabric, it would definitely give it a much more like a casual vibe, I guess, and more sort of everyday, just very different anyway to the leather fabric. And then if you made it in a wool blend fabric, you know, that would be more wintry. And again, just a completely different look again. So I think from the one pattern, you could make, you know, lots of different versions that would all be totally different depending on the fabric you chose with that one. So that's all 12 patterns that I had to share with you today. I hope you were inspired by me talking you through those patterns and you know, some of the details on there that I really loved and the sort of fabrics you could use. Let me know in the comments below which was your favourite pattern. Are you inspired by these? They're definitely a little bit different, aren't they, to anything else that the Big Four brought out. So let me know in the comments below which you liked and which you are planning to sew. As always in these videos, we will tag all the products I've mentioned below, so if you want to click on those links on the Minerva website, it will take you to the product listings. And the great thing as always about Minerva, other makers that have shared makes using these patterns, you'll be able to see those on the product listings. And I think it's such a great way to see, you know, that same pattern made by different people of all different skill sets, all with different body shapes and sizes, all in different fabrics. You know, it's really inspiring, I think, to see it on different people and just get ideas, you know, on what their fabric they used, how they found the pattern to sew, what was the fit like. There's an absolute wealth of information there to help you on your sewing journey. If you enjoyed today's video, please give us a like and give us a follow. We'd really appreciate it. And thank you very much for watching today. I look forward to seeing you next time.